When hope is gone, undo this lock and send me forth on a moonlit walk. Release restraint level 0. Hey kids, wanna see a dead body?
Hi guys, this is the Void of the Ravenclaw. Welcome back to another fanfiction story. If you like this type of content, smash the like button and subscribe for future videos and updates that I do post on my community tab frequently. If you want access to my content early, check out the Discord. This is The Sith of Gotham City Part 0, Chapter 1, Sith Acolyte. This fanfiction was like a thing I've been pondering for the past, I think 4 or 5 weeks or something like that. Maybe a month. I'm not really sure. But it's an idea I've been pondering about placing a crossover between Star Wars and DC. So I decided to give it a shot and see how this fanfiction is received. And if it does pretty well, I'll continue making new parts to it. Much like my Borderlanders fanfiction. I invite you guys voted on a community poll. Elijah, who's the name of this main character in this fanfiction, will have 2 lightsabers, so he'll be dual wielding 2 lightsaber blades in his travels. So now let's get this story started. As we start our story off in the Star Wars universe, deep in the uncharted space lies a humongous wall that is known as the Source Wall. It's the only wall that's separating the 3 different universes from each other, from the DC universe to the Marvel universe and to the Star Wars universe. Many of the Dark Lords of the Sith has tried many times to breach the Source Wall in the past, but none of them succeeded. They ultimately were killed or sucked into the wall itself, becoming part of it, becoming part of the Source Wall. Their fates who are trapped in the Source Wall is uncertain. Our story truly begins at a hospital on one of the many Imperial planets that they govern and control, where there's a Imperial family was waiting for their new addition to their family, as the woman gave birth to a son that she named Elijah. The moment Elijah was born, there was a ripple in the Force that leaned more towards the dark side, as dark side energy begins to emanate from the small baby. Because of his parents weren't Force sensitive, they were unaware that their new addition of their family is channeling dark side energy. They clearly did not notice. Elijah is part of the Imperial family that has close ties to the Imperial military. So Elijah's life till this point has been very beneficial to the young child, getting all the best things, lavish gifts, best education. Even at a young age, Elijah showed signs of having a great intellect and became quite handy around droids. Elijah is currently 5 years old in his estate's backyard, practicing with a practice saber he got from his mother as a birthday gift for the youngest Rosefield for turning 5 years old. Elijah has raven black hair with ocean blue eyes. Between blue and green, a bit of a mixture of both. As he watches his parents meet and greet all the guests that arrive for his birthday party at the mansion or the estate, Elijah immediately stopped what he was doing when he saw cloaked figures talking to his peasants. He felt a ripple in the force, even though what he's feeling, he's unaware that he was unconsciously tapping into the force. Elijah's mother was told that her son to greet their guests. The two Siths looked down upon the small child and took out a small device and tested his motivation or his blood. It didn't take long to get the results, as they gave Elijah's father a data pad. This is everything you need to know. Expect the child to be at the Sith Academy in 2 years' time. He has the potential to be a powerful Sith. They turned around and left the way they came in, without making a sound. Elijah noticed his parents were quite excited and happy that their son has been chosen to attend the Sith Academy. There's never been a Rosefield that's ever been able to wield the Force. They've always been soldiers, generals, moth. Never once has a member of their family has the ability to access the Force, becoming a Sith or Jedi. So it was a great honor for the Rosefields. Being a small child, he really doesn't have a say in the matter. But the mention of a Sith did pique his interest. He could sense the power that would radiate off those two cloaked figures. To say he was intrigued would be an understatement. After the birthday party, his training with his practice saber that his parents got him intensified. His parents hired a low-ranking Sith that they have good relations with to help their son get an early start on his saber training. In preparations of attending the Sith Academy, Elijah instantly showed potential in the art of wielding a saber. Still using a practice saber, but he's a natural at it, like he was meant for the blade. His instructor even helped him how to channel the Force. That's what Elijah is doing right now. He's in the middle of the large room, meditating, trying to gain access to the Force. He can feel it deep down inside him. He just can't pull it out. It's starting to irritate him. That's when it happened. When he started to get angry, the Force showered Elijah in pure dark side energy. The windows start to crack and break as several small objects that's on the side of the wall in the chamber of the room start to be crushed. There's a brief shockwave of dark side energy, shattering all the windows that weren't already broken all at once. Marvelous work, Elijah. Just remember that feeling. It's as much I could teach you. The rest you will have to learn from the Sith Academy, and what you can't learn from the Sith Academy, you will learn from your master, whoever your master will be. I'll be keeping an eye on your progress. I expect great things from you, future acolyte. With that said, he left with those parting words. Mrs. and Mr. Rosefield, your son is supping. I haven't seen in quite some time. The pure potential that boy has to wield the dark side of the Force, I have no doubt he will thrive in the Sith Academy. If he's anything like you two, anything like your wife and yourself, he'll do just fine. Thank you for doing this again. Oh, it's no problem. I owe you a favor anyway, so consider ourselves even. Very well, I do appreciate you helping my son to get ready to attend to the Sith Academy. As Miss Rosefield spoke proudly, he'll be more than ready when he goes there. He still has plenty of time to continue his training on his own. Natural when it comes to drawing on the dark side, so I don't think you have a problem connecting to the dark side. Unlike the other acolytes that will be attending that academy. The first good start compared to the normal applicants that attend the Sith Academy. You might excuse me, I have some Sith things to do. As the Sith human man start to laugh in good humor and walk away. That one's very odd, husband. Yeah, he's an oddball even for a Sith. Another year has gone and passed. Elijah has continued on his own Force training alongside sharpening what skills he has with a saber, using his practice saber. He won't be able to bring his practice saber when he goes to the Sith Academy. They have their own traditions. So far, they could earn their very first practice saber. But regardless, if he can't bring his practice saber or not, the skills he's learned will always be at his fingertips. He has one more year before he has to attend the Sith Academy. He's currently 6. Well, he's currently 6. He will turn 7 when he'll be shipped off to the Sith Academy. He kept up with his training. Of course, he can't do any hard training in fears of stunting his growth, but practicing different saber forms that his parents provided him was the perfect material to train with in the meantime. He knows several aggressive saber stances that many Sith use today. Despite his peaceful life, conflicts has always been increasing between the Imperials and the Republic. That's not even including the clashes that the Sith and Jedi would occasionally have with each other. Naturally, the Jedi has aligned themselves with the Republic, and the Sith is part of the Empire. During the Old Republic era, Elijah has no opinion on Jedi. The Empire doesn't have a whole lot of information on them, outside of the basic information that the majority of the population of the galaxy knows about that Pacific Order. Either they don't bother keeping record, or they purposely chose not to keep any record on the Jedi, considering they are the enemies of the Empire and the Sith Council. But the year went by pretty fast. And the day finally arrived when he has to go to the Sith Academy. His parents saw him off getting onto the transport to head to the Sith Academy on Korriban. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Anyways, you know what I mean. Korriban, I think. I think it's Korriban, but I'm not really sure. Anyways, let's continue. Once he found an empty seat in the transport, he looked around to see several kids of his own age. Some were slaves, some were nobles from a high-stat imperial family, like himself. He even saw some of the kids that are come from a Sith family. Elijah has no desire to socialize with any of these people. He's already been told and learned how the Sith Academy works. There are no friends, there's only rivals. and his main focus is learning what he can and becoming a Sith and gain as much power that he can to give his family honor. When they finally arrived at the Sith Academy, a Sith overseer met them and guide the children to their quarters. Luckily for Elijah, he doesn't have to share quarters with anyone, so he closed the door to his chamber and flopped down on the bed and took out a data pad from his bag and began to watch recordings of himself practicing with his saber, analyzing mistakes in his form, and put a mental note on how he can correct certain mistakes in his form that he sees. He saw several flaws in several of the saber stance he's been practicing that he definitely needs to correct. But for right now, he needs to get some sleep. He's going to have a busy day in the morning. It didn't take Elijah long to fall asleep. The next morning, he was brought to his first class that was filled with kids his own age. The Sith instructor began to teach his class the history of the Sith and going over the Sith code. Like this for the past few classes on history of the Sith and the Empire in general. They haven't done any physical training. Not surprising because everyone in the class is either 7 or 8 years old. Elijah doesn't mind the lesson. He learned a couple things that he didn't know about the Sith and the Empire, and specifically the pureblood Sith species, that you could identify them by their pure red skin and their crimson red eyes. He even saw a few pureblood Sith walking around the campus of the Sith Academy and teaching the older students. But Elijah makes sure not to stick out too much. No reason to paint a target on his back this early on in the Sith Academy. He stuck to himself, blending into the crowd, making sure he's clearly overlooked, masking his presence in the dark side of the Force, like he was never there to begin with. He spent several days quietly attending his classes without no one bugging him. As the day finally happened of his very first course of saber training, as the instructor came in, the instructor was a pure-blooded Sith with red skin and red eyes. As he gazed at the acolytes with a judging gaze, he could already see many of these students, acolytes, will most likely be dead by the end of the first year. But he did recognize a few of them that have a little more talent than the rest. The pure-blood Sith gave a smirk, sensing one of the students is masking himself in the presence of the dark side. He found that most impressive. Someone as young as that one, to use such a dark side ability. As he looked at the list of students, came upon his name, Elijah Rosefield. Interesting. Alright, slaves, get up and follow me to the training field. And if any of you fall behind, I'll introduce you to Force Lightning. So I suggest you keep up, children. The Sith instructor noticed Elijah was taking up the rear. Easy enough keeping up with the rest of the acolytes, but staying far back enough just in case he gets attacked. And the fact that the other students haven't even noticed Elijah or his presence, tells the pure-blooded Sith that this child, this Elijah Rosefield, is special. He does recognize the last name, Rosefield. He said, passingly, under his breath, he's had past experience with the members of the Rosefield family. They're normally patriots, every single one of them. As he finally spoke up once again, once everyone was in place. Alright, everyone lined up. Seeing all the acolytes all lined up right next to each other. As he starts to hand over practice sabers that they will be using during this lesson. As you see, these are practice sabers that you'll be borrowing for this lesson. You'll eventually get your own when you prove yourself. I'll make sure your practice saber is on the non-lethal setting. Normally, practice sabers are non-lethal, but we are Sith. Safety is not really our main concern. But while you're in this lesson, all your practice sabers must be set on non-lethal. Do we understand each other, acolytes? As when he heard the correct response, he continued with his lesson. Now you sad excuse for acolytes. I'll be teaching you how to properly hold a practice saber. And I'm quite curious to see which one of you will actually be able to thrive in this training. Many of the slave acolytes that was chosen to join the Sith Academy were easily making plenty of mistakes, as the Sith instructor brutally corrected their mistakes by electrocuting them with Force Lightning. Try again. After a few more shocks of Force Lightning, they were able to hold the practice saber correctly as he moved on to the next student. Most like the same. It only took a couple of zaps of Force Lightning to correct their mistakes to hold the weapon correctly. The Sith instructor finally moved on to the nobles of the Empire. The instructor had no problem with how they were holding their weapons. He eventually moved on to the Sith acolytes that comes from a Sith family. They had no trouble. He eventually made his way over to Elijah. Elijah got into a perfect beginning stance of one of the many lightsaber stance he knows. Excellent, most impressive. Sir, instructor, who are you talking to? The pure-blood Sith gave a soft chuckle that everyone heard. If you can't see what I see, then you clearly need more training. Light Rosefield, please, stop masking yourself in the dark side of the Force. Yes, Master. As Elijah stopped hiding himself in the dark side of the Force, as everyone in class can finally notice him and see Elijah with his hands behind his back. Practice saber on his belt. As you see, acolytes, he has clearly been training prior to attending the Sith Academy. Unfortunately, none of you have the same luxury, smarts, or connections to do that ahead of time. You are here to be Sith acolytes, and it's a Sith's job to use any advantage, any trick, any dirty move to your advantage. But I'm quite curious, Acolyte Rosefield, on your skill with that practice saber. So who wants to be a volunteer to spar in a little sparring match with Acolyte Rosefield here? A human boy with a cocky smile that comes from one of the noble families of the Empire stood up. Good. Get in your ready stance, and begin. Elijah easily got into his stance as Elijah got into form 7, known as Vapad. Elijah has nowhere near perfected this form, form 7, but he knows enough to be effective in a spar with his opponent's skill level. Elijah waited for his opponent to act. The kid in front of him looked arrogant, so naturally, the arrogant bastard charged forward, swinging his practice saber like a goddamn barbarian. Elijah easily reflected his swing and slammed his practice saber, hitting the kid in the hand, forcing him to drop his practice saber as Elijah kicked the practice saber towards his opponent. Pick it up. You think you're hot shit? Pick it up. Pick up your practice saber and continue. I'm not here to socialize, so shut your fucking mouth and attack. He charged forward, no longer thinking straight, charging in pure anger, making Elijah's job a whole lot easier, using his opponent's aggression and dark side energy to his own advantage, and began to easily outpace, outmatch, and outpower his opponent. As his practice saber was hit out of his hand once again, as Elijah stopped his practice saber mere inches away from his neck. As they both heard clapping from their instructor, excellent execution of Form 7. Most impressive indeed. You're nowhere near mastering that form, but what do I expect? You're only a child after all. But a good head start. Begin to pair up into twos, and I'll split you up, so everyone in class could have a chance to have a match against everyone of your fellow acolytes. Now, begin. As everyone was sparring with each other at least once, he started to mix sparring matches with the other students to get the most experience out of the exercise. Each time Elijah was chosen to fight against the other acolyte, he easily outclassed his opponent and easily won by either disarming or completely making them give up. And his fellow acolytes are starting to get jealous of his skill. And yet mostly that came from the slaves. And one stuck-up Imperial that will always hate him for no reason other because he's a dick. But the acolytes that come from a Sith family can respect his strength and skill. They're not going to be buddy-buddy to Elijah, but they can respect his power. Of course, Elijah doesn't care about anyone's opinion. He knows why he's here. And he's solely focusing on thriving in this Sith Academy, in this harsh environment of the strong survive and the weak perish. He'll do what he must. Betrayal, blackmail, even murder. Of course, outright murdering your fellow acolyte is clearly against the rules. But most acolytes wait until they're out about on a task, on a trial outside the Sith Academy to kill their rivals. Can't get in trouble if they can't find a corpse or see it happen. But Elijah won't learn that until a little bit in the future in his studies at the Sith Academy. Well, he'll be learning that several occasions. The courses he had to take did not alter one bit ever since the sparring match. But on the second month of his studies, they started to they started to introduce the acolytes how to access the Force so they could learn how to channel the dark side. Sith are not known for their meditation, but the fact that it is necessary for the younger acolytes to connect with the Force for the very first time. Their instructor for this lesson was a middle-aged woman with black hair and glowing yellow eyes. As the human Sith woman instruct the acolytes on the process of trying to tap into the Force, got it down pretty fast. Then the others, the Imperial acolytes, and the acolytes that come from a Sith family were able to access the Force quite easily. The slave acolytes, on the other hand, had a harder time accessing the Force for the very first time. Of course, Elijah had already accessed the Force before he even attended the Sith Academy, so he's far more ahead than his fellow acolytes. The instructor did notice Acolyte Rosefield has already access to the Force, and to a limited degree, has access to the dark side. Gave her plenty to work on with the Acolyte Rosefield. She made sure that all of the acolytes unlock the Force to her satisfaction. Good. Practice what you learned so far, and the next time we meet, we'll work on a little more advanced techniques. That is all, acolytes. Now leave my sight. Acolyte Rosefield, I would like to have a word with you. Understood, Master. When everyone left, she finally spoke up. You're clearly ahead of your fellow acolytes. May I ask how that's possible? My parents hired someone to help me learn the basics. That's clearly evident. I shouldn't expect much from a Rosefield. You know of my family, Master? That I do. Now, run along. If I have any further questions for you, I know where to find you. With that said, Elijah bowed and left to go back to his quarters and do a couple exercises to help him make it easier to channel the Force and get a better grasp of channeling the dark side. As he crossed his legs on the bed and began to levitate 3 small metal balls as they begin to spin in a rotation, as he decided to work on controlling the Force a little bit better before he goes in channeling more dark side than he can handle. The basics are important. He wants to master the basics before he gets further into wielding the dark side energy that all Sith has access to. As he continued this exercise for several hours until he started to feel winded and exhausted. As he turned in for the night, the next morning he got dressed and get ready to attend the first class of the day. When he arrived, a new instructor walked in and started to describe the acolytes about Sith alchemy. Just the introductions only, nothing too serious. They're just learning how it works and how it operates, and the fact a talented Sith performing Sith alchemy can actually achieve. This subject piqued Elijah's interest. He's never heard of something called Sith alchemy, but he was intrigued, so he paid it close attention to this lesson and began to write down notes while the teacher was instructing the acolytes on the subject of Sith alchemy. Elijah followed this routine and continued taking Sith history, saber training, introductions into Sith alchemy, and of course, Force training and dark side training. for a full year. Elijah's first trial is fast approaching. Each acolyte takes this trial. When they complete a full year of attending the Sith Academy, where they're finally granted the pleasure or privilege to get their very own practice saber through a trial. Elijah started to prepare for the trial into one of the tombs of the ancient Sith. Elijah is currently in the training field in the Sith Academy, practicing with his Force abilities. He started to practice with his Force push. Immediately after he successfully Force push, he Force pull, using the Force pull to pull back the small metal object. As it begins to stop and levitate, before Elijah caught it in his hands, mere inches away from the palm of his fist, as he grabbed the small round object and put it back into his pocket. With the Force pull and push at an acceptable level, he moved on to the next Force ability that he's going to practice. As he goes through the process of trying to access Force lightning, unfortunately, he was only able to make slight black sparks that came from his fingertips. He tried a few more times, as he was unsuccessful performing the Force lightning. Elijah sat down and meditated and tried to focus on the dark side energy and channel it. As he did that, while keeping himself in control, not allowing the dark side to control him or corrupt him, he'll use the dark side, but he won't allow himself to be corrupted like many Sith have been through in the past. He's fully committed to the dark side and becoming a Sith, but he doesn't have such a weak will. Completely allow the dark side to take over. He can't wrap his mind why someone would willingly do that. He knows what will happen if you walk down that road. That road only leads to destruction. But unknown to Elijah, he caught the attention of a Sith Lord that could either be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on who you ask. As Darth Malgus could be seen in the distance watching Elijah train, it wasn't hard for him to single out Elijah. His success at the Sith Academy and the power he has in the Force did catch his attention. He's currently in the market for a new apprentice, considering the last one he had was such a disappointment. He had to kill him, not out of anger. He just wasn't up to his standards. That's why Malgus is not going to rush things. He's going to continue to observe Elijah's progress in the Sith Academy. Darth Malgus turned around as his cape fluttered as he walked away with his hood over his head and made his way out of the Sith Academy to continue whatever operation he has to do. But on the fourth day of Elijah's extra training, he finally managed to shoot out some Force lightning out of his fingertips, hitting the lifeless practice dummy. Elijah could feel the flow of dark side energy coursing through his body as he memorized that sensation, and continued as he made more black Force lightning came out of his fingertips and began to severely damaging the practice dummy even further. As he continued practice with his new Force ability to fine-tune it as much as he can. For the rest of the days he has left before his trials, He's currently only 8 years old right now. And his body is still growing. He won't be able to do more physical training, but for now, he's just fine-tuning the skills he does have, instead of seeking more knowledge on more powerful force abilities. He chose to practice and master and fine-tune the ones he currently already knows. From the force push, force lightning, even using the force to make him faster. Of course, finding someone to practice force choke is very hard, because no one willingly wants to be force choked. He's still trying to find a way to use the force to make him stronger, but so far he's been unsuccessful. Eventually the day finally arrived for his trial to begin, as Elijah was told by the Sith Overseer where he'll be going, where his first trial will be taking place. He was informed Elijah should be careful, because many students will take this chance to take his spot by killing him, by eliminating a possible threat, stopping any chances of him being an apprentice to many of the Sith Lords out there in the Empire. Elijah only gave a nod in acknowledgement. He already knows that he'll most likely get attacked during his first trial. He didn't really have anything to say about the subject, so he made his way out of the Sith Academy and adventure into the wasteland of the planet, seeing huge pyramids of different Sith temples and tombs. He finally arrived at the correct tomb and entered it. He immediately, when he stepped inside, saw a dead acolyte still holding on to a practice saber. Elijah took the practice saber and gave it a couple swings, and set the practice saber to lethal. And he finally encountered some hostile predators. The predators look like a mixture between a dog and a lizard. The animal has the shape of a canine body, but the skin of a lizard, with sharp teeth and a long tongue. It immediately charged forward, so Elijah allowed his training to take over as he swiftly struck down the predator, one after another, eventually killing them by using his practice saber sent to lethal, or took them out by using force lightning, easily taking out the hostile animals. Suddenly, Elijah's danger sense, he felt a disturbance in the force, and dodged a incoming wild swing from a practice saber set on lethal from an acolyte that he recognized. It's the same acolyte that he fought in his very first saber training lesson with his fellow acolyte. I've been waiting to do this. I've just been waiting for an excuse to kill you. As you know, acolytes can't kill each other, but we're here in the tomb, alone. No one's here to save you, and those rules don't really apply. I can't get in trouble if no one sees me kill you, and these wild predators will eat your corpse, erasing any evidence of foul play. You're dead. If I were you, I would think carefully on your next course of action. Depending on what you do, it will depend on you will survive this encounter. Shut up, you're a threat that needs to be eliminated now. I won't have some upstart outshining me. I'm destined to become Sith, while you're destined to be dead and forgotten. We'll see about that. Give me your best shot, loser. He immediately charged forward. This time, he isn't allowing anger to blind him. He's not allowing his anger to control his actions anymore. He's using his anger. Unfortunately, it's a little too late for that lesson. As their practice sabers collide with each other, making sparks as their battle commenced, as both practiced sabers were grinding against each other, making more sparks as each acolyte are trying to overpower each other by using their physical force, pushing their practice saber towards each other. They both have the same. They're both the same age. They have somewhat the same similar amount of strength. Elijah is a little bit more stronger and faster than him. That he clearly demonstrated by overpowering the Imperial Acolyte as Elijah kicked him in the stomach, as the Imperial Acolyte backed off to regain his bearings. Get back to his saber form and press the attack, only to see his attacks be blocked or reflected by Elijah by only using his practice saber with one hand. The Imperial Acolyte tried to use force push, but only for Elijah to attempt the same thing at the same time, as the two force pushes abilities begin to clash to each other, as they both have their palms extended in mere inches away from each other, own hands. As suddenly the Sith Acolyte was pushed back. The Imperial Sith Acolyte was pushed back as Elijah won that force push struggle. Elijah force pulled the Imperial Acolyte before he could hit the wall and land a spinning kick across his face. Then he force pushed him into the wall, making the Imperial Acolyte cough up blood, as Elijah lit up the Imperial Acolyte by using the force and slamming him into another wall across the room. Then Elijah immediately unleashed black force lightning, making the Imperial Acolyte scream out in pain and beg for mercy. Elijah did not say anything and did not listen. He only began to use more Sith lightning, or force lightning, as he suddenly stopped as he lifted him up in the middle of the air while force choking him. As he pressed his thumb and index finger together, as the Imperial Acolyte began to grasp at his neck until there was a crack as his windpipe was crushed, as he falls to the ground dead, lifeless. His body was instantly attacked by the local predators inside the tomb as they began to devour his flesh. Elijah turned his back and smirked as he continued to walk further into the Sith tomb to continue his trial. Meanwhile, Darth Malgus was watching the entire thing in his office by using a sentry droid to see the progress of the trial firsthand. He actually was impressed, for someone so young to utilize so many different force abilities, and that's not including the force lightning. Acolytes don't usually achieve that until they're much older. He knows the boy's been training hard, trying to utilize his force lightning safely without hurting himself. He saw the boy struggle the entire time when he was trying to use force lightning for the first time. To Malgus, Elijah is definitely a candidate for a future Sith apprentice. There are several other possible future candidates in the Sith Academy that caught his eye. They're much older. Malgus is leaning more towards Elijah. He's young enough, so he can mold him into the perfect Sith apprentice. But he's going to have to wait until he sees more of the boy's skills before he makes his move and officially claim him as his Sith apprentice. There's always a chance that someone might outshine him, and he'll choose them instead of Elijah. That's the way of the Sith. To find the most powerful acolyte, to make them their apprentice. That's where we're going to stop it. Hope you guys have a good night and day. Enjoy my time zones, and I'll catch you in the next video.